Hi and welcome to this week's Happy Hour. This week I'm returning to the topic of rest because I think it's so important. And when I'm talking about rest, particularly this week, I'm talking about rest and sleep. So we need both in order to function at our best. And I've added a new article to the Real Life Meditation website, just going through a summary of the evidence on what areas are impacted by sleep and rest, and some simple tips on how you can incorporate more rest into your daily life. So you can check that out on reallifemeditation.com.au. But today, what I want to talk about are the reasons why we need to prioritize rest and sleep in our lives. And it impacts pretty much every area of our life. So it's really important that we're aware of exactly what's going on under the surface. So the first thing that I want to talk about is cognitive performance, memory, and creativity. So we all know that when we've had a bad night's sleep or we are really busy and we're not resting enough, that we can experience difficulties in making decisions or more likely to make mistakes and, maybe brain fog or a little bit of challenge in that area. And this is backed up by science. Basically, research has shown that if you have enough rest, then you will perform 20 to 40% better on cognitive tests. And it's also really vital for memory in particular, because sleep is when we transition the events of the day into long-term memory and for learning. So if we're not getting enough sleep, then we may not be allowing the brain time to process and store long-term memories. But also creativity is impacted by the amount of rest that we're getting. And something as simple as stepping away from a complex task has been shown to increase creative output by up to 60%. So, there's a reason why a lot of artists and thinkers and scientists will take breaks out from their work in order to give their brain a chance to decompress and come up with maybe a novel or new idea. So that's the first area. The second is physical repair and recovery. So sleep and rest is when our tissues repair, it's when our muscles repair and grow, and it's also where the body clears out cellular waste. So this is important across the entire body to be able to clear out dead cells and waste in the cells, but it's particularly important in the brain. And there's some evidence that potentially it's inadequate clearing of cellular waste in the brain that can lead to some of the cognitive decline or dementia that is common in older age. So really important for us to allow our body this time to repair and clear out waste. The next area is around emotional self-regulation and mental health. So we all know that we are often not at our emotional best when we're not rested. We tend to be a bit more cranky, quicker to anger, and just feeling not great. And there's some very clear ways that that's impacted. So if we're getting enough rest, it lowers our cortisol, which is our stress hormone, and it reduces the activation of the sympathetic nervous system, which is our fight and flight response. So by taking time and resting, we can bring ourselves out of that heightened state, and that can give us the skills and ability to regulate our emotions, but also to develop resilience in the long term. So it's really important. The next area is cardiovascular health. So what we notice is when we're rested, is that our heart rate decreases and our blood pressure goes down. And they're two really key markers of cardiovascular health. So having these periods of rest, particularly if we balance them with periods of intense physical activity, is a great way to improve our long-term cardiovascular health. The rest and sleep also has a really big impact on our immune system. So if we're not getting enough sleep, or resting enough, then the body will and the immune system can't keep up with the demands, and we're more likely to get sick. We all know that when we're run down, and that's when we get sick. And what they've shown in research is people who, I think it was maybe 6 hours or less of sleep, were nearly 3 times more likely to develop cold symptoms after being exposed to rhinovirus than people who were getting adequate sleep. So it's really clear that we need to allow our body time to rest so that we can be at our best and keep ourselves healthy. We'll also find impacts on metabolic and hormone balance. So that feeling that we get sometimes when we're not rested of craving more sugar, it's because of the delicate balance of metabolic hormones in the body. And not getting enough sleep or rest can throw out that balance. And so our appetite is affected and our ability to metabolize glucose. So not getting or having chronic sleep loss is a risk factor for both obesity and diabetes. So, there's that kind of direct link between not getting enough sleep and rest and that craving for sugar that we often experience. And the final one is just overall longevity. So this is not only how long we live, but how well we live in those years. And not getting enough sleep or rest has been shown to affect our mortality, so our risk of death, and also our morbidity, which is our risk of disease. So getting enough sleep can help us to live longer and live better for those years that we're living longer. So really great benefits of just making sure we're getting enough rest in our life. So next week I'm going to share with you a few tips on how you can make sure you're getting enough rest in your day and some simple sleep hygiene techniques. There's heaps of resources out there for sleep hygiene, but I'll just summarize a few of them for you. If you want to get a sneak peek, you can check out the article because it's all in there. So head to the Real Life Meditation website and you can have a little look. If you do, maybe pick a couple and give them a go over the next week and let me know how you go. Have a great week.